Good morning, and welcome to Most of the Clocks in This House Are Set to the Right Time, Winnipeg. Okay, now, we did not get that big blizzard that they were talking about yesterday morning at this time. I noticed it didn't come, and it didn't come, and it didn't come, and so finally I went on the computer and checked the weather radar, and I could see it looked like it was sort of veering off to the south of us. So Kevin down in South Dakota probably got more of it than we did. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to complain about that. Yeah, less snow the better. I was looking out my front window there this morning when I drew the drapes back, and it looked like the wind was blowing in the direction that it sort of blew the driveway clear instead of clumping it up in big drifts like it sometimes does, so that's all right. And if I check some of my surveillance monitors, it looks like maybe there's only about this much on my steps. Well, I can shovel that off in my slippers if I'm careful. Okay, now, what do we got going on here this morning? Why do I have my pen stuff out here for our sprue pen? Okay. Yeah. Well, here's what's happened. You know, the best way, I think, for me to be able to describe what happened yesterday, and it's kind of bad news. And for a while there, I thought, well, that's the end of the sprue pen. And I had to come upstairs and read the sign that's in my spray booth over there that says something to the effect of, make no decisions in the evening when feeling tired or depressed that you can't take back in the morning after having a good night's rest. Yeah, because I was feeling a bit discouraged last night, I'll tell you. But, you know, I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic now. I think I can see you might say, a light at the end of my tunnel, or a solution to my problem. So anyway, let's stop talking about it. Let's take the camera downstairs and where I can better explain what happened. Well, here's what happened. Yesterday afternoon, I came down here to the workshop and I started gathering up little things that I would need that were particular, you might say, to turning the Sierra pen kit. Like the bushings that were the right size, and the mandrel that I wanted to use. And a lot of it was over in this area right here where my lathe is. My big, beautiful Laguna lathe. Yeah, it's, let's see if I can, right now it's a Laguna. I could paint it green and call it something else. Yeah, that's the way these machines are. They're made in Asia, and what they do is they go to different, I guess you'd call them resellers in North America and all around the world, actually. I think this same lathe in Australia is branded as a Harvey. If I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw the name Harvey on it. Exact same thing, only it was a different color. And you might see it with the name King on it, or something like that, like King Canada. But it'll be the exact same machine, just a different color and a different label. But there's a lot of them. Anyway, it's a great lathe, except it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, I came down here and I was gathering up stuff, and I reached over and just, I could see that there was nothing on in the chuck or anything like that, so I knew it wasn't going to hurt anything if I turned it on. So I just for old time's sake, I turned it on. Well, it started up, and then I realized that it was in what I call low range. Like, I think I'm going into more detail than you want to hear, right? No, you want to hear this. Okay, so on the inside here, there's a there's a belt, and you change the belt to go into high or low range. I call it high, I call it low range, sort of from my 4x4 days. Yeah. Anyway, I did that, and I started it back up, and it was in high range this time, spinning a lot faster. And I was noticing that it was not going even. It's got a governor on it, electronic governor. And the idea is that when the load comes on onto your work and wants to slow your work down, it puts more power to the motor automatically, and it did it extremely well. But anyway, it seemed like the governor was out. It was kind of like your lawnmower. It can sometimes get if you get a leaf or something stuck in the lawn in the governor. Anyway, yeah. So where am I going with this? For goodness sakes, Ron, keep on a train of thought. So anyway, I sped it up about as fast as it would go. And then I noticed it's getting really erratic, and before I had a chance to slow it down, it just stopped suddenly. So those of you who have tools that have electronic braking, it was that sort of thing, only faster. It was almost a bang. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's never done that before. What's happened here? So I shut it off and I turned the volume down, I turned the speed control down, and I started it up again. It seemed to be okay, but not really. And then it quit, and I noticed I still had that cover open from changing the belts, and I noticed what appeared to be a little whiff of smoke coming out. So I've concluded that I don't think it's the motor, I think it is the speed controller, the electronics in it. And that is not going to be a cheap fix. That's going to be expensive. For one thing, I'm going to have to take the headstock off. That's all. This is all one unit, the motor, the controller on the back, and everything. And just unplug it from the wall, which it is right now. And then you unloose it on the bottom, and you can just lift that whole big square unit off. Well, let's put it this way. You could lift that off. I can't. I used to be able to, because I assembled this thing myself, and boy is it heavy. You don't think it's heavy, but it weighs over 500 pounds. I can't remember the exact weight, but it's over 500 pounds. And if I want to move this thing around down here, I've got a lever. It's sort of like that thing, I forget what it's called, but if you can actually move a train car that weighs maybe 500,000 pounds. Using a lever, one guy on the level, and what I would do is I'd put this underneath the legs, and I'd move it half an inch at a time, whichever way I wanted it to go. You don't pick it up and slide it. Okay, now here's my dilemma. I can go to the work of taking this off. I can get my son to come over and give me a hand to lift this thing off, I guess, and get it up the stairs and get it into the car and take it to a place that repairs these kind of things. And I think there's actually a place about 2 miles from where I live here that does that sort of stuff. And yeah, I can do that, and then I can fix it. And I'm going to end up with a big heavy lathe down in my workshop that I'm not going to want to come down here to, because I don't like to stand up at it. Now, a few years ago I made up this shop stool, and it just plain was not comfortable. I could sit on it for about 10 minutes or so, and when you're turning a pen, you're going to be here a lot more than just 10 minutes. And it was fun to make, but it just didn't turn out the way I had hoped. And I had a good time making this wood seat out of pieces of 2x4 and welding up the frame and so on. And it is sure heavy duty. And it had to be to hold me. You remember, I was a lot bigger than I am now. Anyway, yeah. So where am I going with this? Okay, so if if I get it fixed, I'm still going to have something that I really don't want to use unless I start coming back down here in the workshop again. And do I want to go to the expense of buying a small tabletop lathe just for turning pens? I don't know, but I don't know if I want to do that or not. I'm kind of leaning towards that direction right now, actually. I'm thinking that maybe that's the way I'm going to go. Even a heavy-duty tabletop lathe weighs, I think, 105 pounds at one I was looking at this morning online. Assembled. That's a fifth of the weight of this thing. It would do pens and small bowls and stuff like that. Now I would have to get an adapter for it. The spindle on this is 1¼ inch by 8. In other words, it's a little bit too big. Okay, let me get my glasses back on. Okay, in order for the lathe that I would get to take my chuck, which is, this is not a cheap chuck. I mean, this chuck and the accessories cost as much as a lathe, believe it or not. And it's got an adapter on it that is designed for 1¼ But wait a minute. I think if I take this off, it steps down to 1 inch. Bonus! I didn't realize that until just this very moment. But I've got a lot of different jaws that I can put on this, including those 4 big silver things that are called jumbo jaws. Now I don't know if there's enough swing on the bed, between the bed and the spindle on these new cheap lathes to handle that sort of thing anyway. But I probably wouldn't use them, but I would definitely want to use this. And I've got various jaws in that bag over there and accessories and what have you. Do I ever have a bad habit of just rambling on? I tell you, it kind of worries me, as I've said before. Now, I don't know why I'm starting to perspire down here. It's not that warm. Yeah, I don't know what else I can tell you here. I'm at the place where, I'll take you to the other end of my workshop. There is another thing that I can do. Let's just get everything back together here and, well, that's good news. It looks like I won't have to buy an adapter. I didn't realize that before. And I remember when I got this thing, I remember putting this adapter on it so it would handle the I can see that's a lot smaller. That's going to be great. Okay, let's push the stop button here and shuffle over to the other end of the workshop, and I'll show you another idea I'd had. Well, we are in what I think of as my metal room. Yeah, and anything to do with metal I do in this room here. Now, I was thinking that I could possibly turn the pen down on this lathe. I mean, this one used to work. If I remember how to turn it on. Oh, it's not. I was going to say it's not plugged in, but it is. Okay, bear with me. I'm worried now. Don't tell me I got 2 that don't work. Yeah, it's plugged in. Oh. Okay, here we go. The safety was open. There's a switch in here, and if this isn't down, this won't turn. Yeah, you can tell it's been a while since I've used this thing. It's a lot of fun to use, though. It really is. It's a kind of an expensive toy, and yet it's cheap for what you get. It's what you might call a cheap Chinese lathe, but it works really well. And I can turn something down to within a thousandth of an inch. The increments on this thing are not exactly precise. For instance, when you turn it, 1/1000th of an inch might not be, or one increment might not be exactly 1/1000th of an inch, or whatever it says here. This one here. But it's very, very close. I remember testing it years ago when I first got it, just for the fun of it. Not that it makes any difference, but well, I guess to some people it would. But yeah, it works really well. Anyway, I have turned wood on this before. In fact, I've got a hose over there that I sort of bring over and try and vacuum up the sawdust, and it's kind of cumbersome, but it works. And I was thinking that I possibly could turn the sprue pen on this, make up some adapters maybe, and change some things here. Have it so that I can use my live center here. I'm starting to think about it and talk at the same time, and it's not going over too good. Anyway, I just wanted to bring you in here and show you the other possibility. So the sprue pen is not dead like I thought it was yesterday afternoon. Yesterday afternoon I was a pretty, you might call it, discouraged camper. Yeah. Okay, let's go back upstairs to the model table. I am sure glad that in just a very few weeks I'm not going to have to be doing that anymore for at least half a year. Okay, so what do we got here? 3 more pieces for our sprue pen. I can make our sprue pen a little bit bigger now. Okay, now I'm going to finish cleaning these up, and and I think that I think I mentioned this last night already, but I want to paint them before I glue them on, because I think that if I try to paint this deck, the 77, getting in here with a brush, I'm going to be touching the side of the bulkhead here, and I think maybe we should, after I clean them up, I better just do a dry run, make sure they are actually going to easily go into the slot, because after it's painted up, I don't have to be fighting with it trying to fit it in. And I want to try and use as little extra thin or whatever I'm going to use. In all likelihood, I might use the heavier stuff along the side, and where this mounts onto here. Well, let's just clean it up, and we'll talk about it when we're zoomed in here. Okay, this is actually the first time I'm trying this. Maybe if I could put a little bit more force on it here. Yeah, that's going to go together pretty good. There is going to be a bit of a gap, it looks like. That's okay. That's okay. Chances are they're going to want me to be putting railing on that thing. I can't envision it somebody stepping out off the ladder and not having a railing on that platform. Where is Barnacle Bill here? How big would he be? Okay, yeah, you can see that If I can get him just right here so that you can see he would actually could stand underneath this thing. Okay, but not by much. There, now they don't catch quite as bad when I shove them down into the holes. Before some of them had the little wires sort of splayed out, and they were, yeah, this works a lot better, at least in my opinion. Now, get these things clipped on here. Okay, I'm loving these clips, by the way, Chris. Loving these clips. All right, where's our 77? Oh my goodness, look at our time. Do you know what time it is, boys and girls? It's pizza time. Okay, this is the last of the pieces of pizza out of my freezer. And this is pretty much the same as the one I had last week, ham and pineapple. Now it turns out that a lot of viewers commented and said that they loved ham and pineapple. And I think it was Photo Etch Bender Andy commented, and he said that he heard in one of these countries, I think it was like Norway or Sweden or Iceland or Greenland or somewhere over there, that they were going to pass a law banning ham and pineapple pizza. And I didn't believe him, so I Googled it, and sure enough. No, I don't think it ever happened, of course. Why would they not like ham and pineapple? Oh, you notice Tennessee Jim? This one is not beveled on the corner here like the other one. Well, now it is. Well, you can never have too much pizza. Have I got my 77 here? Yes. Unless you're supposed to be on a diet. Now, heavy on the word supposed to be. Just going to use my small brush here. Not the smallest, but... And I can quite well imagine this is going to require 2 coats. I'm only going to worry about the top of the deck. I'm not going to worry about the bottom where I've written the number and everything. I don't think I need to paint along this edge because this edge is going to be sort of more or less glued up against the side of the other decking. Now, sorry, Chris, I'm going to get paint on your clip here. That's all right. I think the second coat will get rid of the blotchiness. I'll just get on the inside there where the ladder's going to go down. And we'll do this edge right here. Maybe I better get a little bit more on my brush, make it a little bit more saturated here. Okay, now we got the other one. And this is the tongue. I don't think I need to worry too much about that. Maybe on the other one I'll do it the other way. I'm going to do the inside of the edges first. I don't think it makes any difference. And again, we're not going to do this edge. Oh, I can hear my tummy gurgling. That's annoying. Well, I guess I can always bleep that out. Okay, how are we doing here time-wise? It's 2 o'clock, believe it or not. This one's not going as good. Okay, I think that once this dries, it's going to be okay. And I'll put a second coat on, but I'm going to do that off camera. And yeah. Okay, I just looked up in my viewfinder and I didn't realize how badly painting these the same color as the background was maybe not a good idea, but it's too late now. I can't undo it. Well, I guess I could probably soak them in isopropyl or Windex or something and then redo it and pretend it was the first time, but that's not my style. So, but what is my style is when we get to the end of the episode, I say something like, "Thanks for watching, everybody. And all being well, we'll see you tomorrow." Now, remember way back about, I guess several episodes ago when we started watching the walkers or becoming aware of them, let's put it that way, and we were wondering if possibly they were timing their walk to the sunrise. And then we sort of were noticing, well, maybe not. Well, this morning is pretty well proof positive that they're not, because the sunrise this morning is an hour later than yesterday at this time, or almost an hour later. And yeah, they're going by the clock, not by the sun. And I was surprised they came out. I thought they might find the walking a little bit difficult. So yeah, they're what you might call hearty souls.